And live stream, got it. You're now live streaming. One thing that we want to learn to do that I don't know how to do either. I chat, we don't want chat. Is do the minutes, and that's what he was talking about, having all blend, yes. Leslie did it a couple of times, but I never did. I'm gonna go test real quick and see if this one works, see if people hear me. This is number one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is what makes it squeak if you put it too loud. Don't put your elbow on that, it will mute them all. Trust me, everyone's like, they can't hear it all. Test, test. Can you hear me, Rayanne? Okay. I won't be. Good job. Give a minute. And Daryl's very bad about it too. I've got to keep reminding Daryl. But he's real bad because he'll sit swing, not talking. Right there. And off.
Hey, we're going to get started in about 3 minutes. I think our clock on the wall apparently hasn't fallen back yet, so we've got just a little while left. But if you do want to speak, if you could fill in one of the request to speak forms and make sure we get it, we appreciate that. We'll get started shortly. Thank you. Good evening. I've got 7 o'clock on the clock here in the desk. And welcome, everybody. 6 o'clock, I'm sorry. Well, actually, it does say 7 here, but we're gonna go with 6 o'clock this time. So I appreciate everybody being here this evening. I'll call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. First item of business is our roll call. So Andrew Malkowski.
Here.
Derek Rubin is absent today. Colby Cowan,
Here.
Harry Clementi.
Present.
Mark Perkins, that's me, I'm here, and David.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum, so we'll get started. We have two items on the, let's see, I guess first of all, work session reports. We have not had a work session recently, so to the best of my knowledge, we have no need for work session reports. And do we have any discussion or requests for clarification of items on the agenda from anyone? Hearing none, move on to item regular session and items for individual consideration. First of which is approval of minutes from the October 13th regular meeting. We have a motion for approval of minutes.
And I second the motion.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. And we'll move from that to our main agenda item. We have a public hearing case PZ 2214, conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from AG agricultural to PD planned development for approximately 18.2 acres, being a part of tract 11 of the Oliver Acres addition, part of lots 6 and 7 in the JMSS home tracts located at 1106 Kennedale Sublet Road, City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas. We'll start with a staff presentation. It's all yours. Oh. While he's getting that booted up, I'll just remind everyone, if you do wish to speak and you haven't yet, please turn in one of the request to speak forms, which are located on the table over here behind your speaker.
The undeveloped 18-acre property is located southwest of Kennedale Sublet Road and Wildcat Way. Directly west of the existing Magnolia Hills addition and northeast of the existing vineyard. The existing land uses adjacent to the property are single-family houses and an undeveloped land. The existing zoning consists of, to the north, AG agricultural, to the east, Magnolia Hills and development, south, AG agricultural and R3 residential. To the south, we have the vineyards planned development, and to the west, AG agricultural. You see the current comprehensive plan designates the property as neighborhood residential on the future land use map. Neighborhood residential lists the single-family residential as a permitted development type. The applicant is requesting to rezone the 18 acres from AG to PD planned development with a base zoning of R4. The proposed development will consist of 71 residential homes adjacent to Magnolia Hills. The lots will be a mix of R3 and R4, with R3 lots acting as a transition to the existing vineyards, which are considered R3 lots. All the proposed lots exceed the minimum requirements for R4 zoning. The request to rezone the 18-acre property from AG agricultural to PD planned development with the intent to develop single-family residential as consistent with the comprehensive plan, future land use map, and is compatible with the existing land use. Therefore, staff has recommended approval. The applicant has a presentation and is here to answer any questions. Any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff? Thank you. And we have the applicant here, Mr. Arnold. Welcome back.
Commissioner, Commission, thank you for having me back. My name is John Arnold. I'm with Warburg Company. Our address is 8214 Westchester Drive, Suites 900, Dallas, Texas 75225. I just want to start off with, I apologize. I'm not going to be rude tonight, but I have something for my daughter at 7 at her school. It's about 40 minutes away. So one of my partners here is with me, Ryan Holland. I'd like to ask if when I'm done with my presentation, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we've done it twice now. So this is the third time, and y'all can ask me questions, and he can maybe ask something else comes up. He's been with us just as long as I have, so he understands the project as well. So I wanted to, we're back again with Magnolia Hills Phase 2. As you all know, we came through, met with y'all twice, and we were approved by a vote of 4-1. We were tabled the first time to answer some questions on drainage. We went through those questions, and then the next time we came back, we were approved 4-1. I went to council on August 15 or 16, I think, and it was denied. We received feedback from council. I've met with council members. So I'm back here tonight to discuss our revised site plan. I think Can I make this full screen? Yep, that's it. You can see the whole thing now. Back to y'all from advice from council. And so our new design incorporates the feedback from council. They wanted us to put a focus on aggregating the larger lots, the R3 lots on the southern end near the vineyards, and transition up to the R4 that are on Magnolia. So we have a more and decrease the number of 50s and increase the number of larger lots. So with this plan, we've done that. We've actually aggregated the R4s and the larger lots, 60s, 70s, and 80s on the southern end of the property, as you can see, with it brown, purple, and yellow, and then the 50s have been moved up to the top. Also, if you notice on the two plans, we're going to incorporate the pond. The existing pond is kind of right there on that southern street of the loop. We actually move that pond and keep the pond and put some trails around like we did on phase 1. So this is a little bit, there's a lot of information here, but what I wanted to kind of bring your attention to is that center box. It's the number of 50s we had. We originally in the first phase, we had a mix of, we had 41 50-foot lots. We brought that down to 27 50-foot lots now. That's a 34% decrease in lots. So 50s now, we have 27 50s. See in the box at the top, 27 50s, 31 60s, 7 70s, and 4 80s and 2 65. So total 71 lots. So we're down a lot, and we've increased the lot size on this. So if you look at our lot mix comparison, last time I was here, phase 2 was basically mirroring phase 1. So it's 56% 50s and 44% 60 plus. And on phase 1, phase 2 I showed you before was that basically exact same lot. What we've done now is basically flip that and bettered it. So now we have 38% of the site is 50, now 62% are the larger lots. We've also were asked council and multiple other times to put some benches and picnic tables at the playground in phase 1, something that was missing and been brought to our attention by residents in phase 1 and then other people throughout the city that walk past it. So we plan to do that and possibly put some soccer goals down there. The detention pond to make that more usable, larger open space. So we're committing to do that now. We'll do that no matter what. So our revised zoning proposal, we just went over that again. It's 18 acres, 18.5 acres. 71 lots, typical lot size 6,000 up to 10,000 square foot. Got a mixture of 50, 60, 65, 70, 80s. We just went over the phase one, phase two lot mix. We went over this the first time. I just kind of wanted to go over this again, just to refresh everybody's memory. Everybody in blue are our property owners, current property owners that are selling this property to develop phase two. They are own homes there and they will be staying there. They will be our neighbors on the majority of this property. The properties A, B, and C are all property owners that are adjacent to us that we're working on agreements with. B and C, we've already got signed agreements. B for a right-of-way agreement, C for drainage agreement, as we discussed last time. This drainage is going to flow through from phase one through our pond onto A, property on A, Mr. Marcello's pond, that we plan to increase the size of his pond, and on that, and then fix Ms. Miller's. She has some drainage problems, but she's not getting water, so we're gonna try to help her water bypassing her. So we've worked through this area. I know we went through it in great detail, and I've gone through it in great detail with council. We put a lot of work into the drainage design, pond design. A little bit, diving a little bit deeper, we went over this last time as well, but currently right now there's that blue line. A lot of the water is ponding on that stub out entrance from phase one. You can see in the pictures here to your side. We were here at P and Z. One of the neighbors got up and actually handed me those pictures. We've looked at that area. We've looked at that staff. We've looked at our engineers. And currently right now that water is blocking on this forge property and ponding there. And then a lot of it's running through these backyards into a drainage easement that's not wide enough, not as wide as my foot. Water's going. We've walked that. We've looked at that with our engineers. We're actually going to put a drainage inlet there, pipe that up to help the neighbors and also help bring the water through that's coming through the also the pond. Our neighbors stops this issue that's going on. Our alternative drainage solutions, as I just talked about with Mr. Carticello, you can see, so that the image on the right is Mr. Carticello's pond to the south. And we would be planning on expanding that pond, almost doubling the size of that pond in order to create the tension on that pond that we would need for the water to come through. If that didn't work out for some reason, we obviously could alter our plan and just enlarge our pond on our side. So we have alternates for all of the drainage places to go. But we will have the pond on our side. We talked about traffic last time. We've learned some information on traffic last time since we moved last time. This image just shows that we have 3 points of ingress egress from the property. We'll have one up to Kennedale Sublet, then north and south. So we'll have 2 entrances out of our subdivision to the east and then one to the south. This kind of shows traffic patterns. What we've learned since then is these highlighted sections. I don't know if you can see them really on the screen, but from here to here on Sublet Road, plans to start construction next year. We increase this to 2 lanes. And then here on Winnie Height and Paulette Sublet, plans to start next year on improvements there. Our subdivision likely won't be on the ground until 2024, so we should be kind of meeting those same timelines for the improvements on the road improvements. So it's been a large concern, but it's lucky that the city's moving forward a lot. So I don't think traffic issue. I think so. We also had some concerns from council members and some citizens about city services. We've met with staff and talked about fire, police safety. We've been told that the circulation of the project actually improves access for fire to north-south of town. So it'll actually be a benefit to be able to have a way for the fire department to get north and south easier. And current manpower service of those forces would not be affected by this. We've had that discussion with staff, so clarify that as well. And then also, as we told you last time, we had talks with Kennedale ISD. Superintendent has informed us that he's not concerned about 71 miles added to this directly from that. Back to the site plan and any questions for me.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I do,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a small one. Where you're putting in a pond, are you putting some kind of an aerating machine in it?
We will always put an aerating machine in the pond. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't. I think she.
Bear with me just a minute. We'll see if we got questions from the commission first.
So the drainage issue has not been addressed yet.
It has been, it's been.
Has been.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been physically addressed because we haven't built our.
I mean, nothing's been done yet.
No, nothing's been done until we build our subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah, we would have to. build-
Flooded the other day. Curious. I thought you-
Well, we would have to go build our subdivision to make those improvements. They're very costly and they'll be part of our subdivision development.
The subdivision goes in first and then that comes in later.
The subdivision goes in with those. Improvements don't go in. Subdivision doesn't go in first. It'd be dirt work, and pipe and drainage, and for any lots on the ground, then those improvements are.
And when that proves to work, then you move forward with
Yes.
subdivision and move
Yes,
forward.
just like phase one, proof of work.
Who follows through with that to make sure that the plan, the engineering plan works?
Our engineer and the city engineer.
And they sign off on that and stand behind it?
Yes, sir.
So if these-
Always.
so if these people's houses flood, who they go?
They're
What-
already flooding.
I know.
So I think we're here to make the problem better. We're taking the water away from their houses. It's already flooding that was done by it.
I know, they're not real happy.
I'm sure they're not happy with the flooding.
Spend that much money on a house and find out you need
I
flood
100%
insurance.
agree that I did not develop that phase, but I've been here working with the city for the last 18 months. And that was one of the first problems that came up and we've been looking, fixing that, and how to fix that.
You didn't develop that phase. Who did?
I'm not sure.
Is it your company that you
No.
represent?
We had, no, sir. We did not develop the vineyard. We weren't in Kennedale. We didn't get to Kennedale in 2018. No, we had nothing to do with the vineyard.
So these poor people are stuck with this problem?
They're not if we fix our,
So you're gonna help these people who are living there now.
yes, sir.
If this goes through, you're gonna help them.
Yes, sir. Okay. And I've talked to those landowners and talked to the city about it. And one of our landowners, I'm gonna help her.
Hopefully you have questions for that. Okay, questions? Mr. Arnold, thank you. I would say for those of you in the audience, if you'd like to speak, if you could please fill out a request to speak form. I've got 5 or 6 here. So if you would like to speak, I think that's the proper forum for doing that when we open the public hearing here momentarily. So with that, the applicant and the staff has made a presentation. I'll call the public hearing to order at 7:18. I'm sorry, 6:18. I'll get this. I'll set the clock back eventually. 6:18 PM. We'll call the public hearing to order. We do have several people either signed up to speak or some who have sent emails and messages that they'd like to have read. So I'm going to start in no particular order. And ask each speaker to, when you come to the podium, state your name and address, and then if you could please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We appreciate having your input. The first is, and I hope I'm reading the name right, Kelly Rapallo. I'm sorry? Rinaldo, thank you. Okay.
My name is Kelly Rinaldo. I live at 1702 Stags Leap Trail, Kennedale in the Vineyards. I have major concerns. I don't know how that's going to benefit our neighborhood. Opening it up on that back street and having all of that traffic now go through our neighborhood, which is, we have 117 homes. It's relatively small in there. We have HOA fees that we pay that are very high because of all the ponds that we were made to put in by the city. And now we are having all of this other traffic that's going to come through our neighborhood and not benefit us whatsoever with any of our fees, the traffic going through there. I already watched the school buses struggle to get through our street. So I just think that's going to create havoc. So I don't see that as being a benefit. Our schools are overcrowded, so I don't it baffles me that they say 71 homes. It's not just 71, the Alton Landing is not done yet. Those are 3-story units. That's going to put a huge impact on our schools. The schools are already overcrowded. They don't have enough teachers. They've gone in the last 4 years from 16 to 18 kids to over 25 per class. So that's an issue. Our streets being widened, I think that's a good thing because right now that's going to be a huge impact, just getting all these more people in the area. So I do have a question. If those people in blue that are out on that sublet there are selling to you, then why don't you have your opening going out that way instead of in Darden? So those are my concerns and my questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you being here today. Next speaker I have listed is Garrison Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Garrison Lewis. I'm at 1312 Tucker Lane. I had a whole speech written out, but I think I'm just going to hit the highlights because I think a lot of it's going to be repeated by a bunch of us. I think the first major concern I have is that not all of our neighbors were informed of this meeting. During the first P and Z meeting, I have family over on Kevin Miller that received the notice. They did not receive any notice about tonight's meeting, so therefore there's a whole neighborhood right there that was not informed, which I don't think is correct. Safety's been brought up. I have been notified that our street in phase 1 is actually 25 feet wide, which is not very wide. We've seen plenty of times where cars are double parked or work trucks are double parked. There has been an instance where a fire truck has not been able to get through. Luckily, it was not an emergency, but they were going to release some pressure from the fire hydrants or something like that, but they were not able to get through. They had to jump the curb, stuff like that. If that is an emergency situation, kids or family members are in trouble, that's going to be an issue. According to this plan, the street's going to be the same width, so there's a big problem there. Drainage with the pond issues. First thing I don't like is that our pond, that all of our drainage is going to be draining onto someone's private property. The questions and concerns that I have, what if that person does something on their own land that affects that property, or they sell the land in the future and that landowner does something, affects all that drainage and it hurts us. The other thing too, they're saying that they're going to stand behind their work as far as like they're going to get it all done. My question is, how come the city has not held the First Texas Homes people responsible for fixing their issues? I have that issue with what if the city does not hold these people responsible if there is issues with our homes. Traffic obviously is going to be a big thing. We highly recommend that there's a street that goes straight out to Sublet. I think she brought up a good question about that. Why is there not going straight up there? There's going to be 100 to 150 new cars that's going to be going through there. It's going to basically going to be coming out on phase 1 because most people are going to be going phase 1 to 287 to 20. So it's going to be hundreds of cars a day going through there. The school issues, I would agree that if we were just adding the 71 homes, that it probably wouldn't be a big burden on our schools. But the problem is we have 3 apartment complexes that are not done yet that are going to be feeding into those schools as well. So that's potentially 1,000 new homes, 1,000 new families, kids. Yeah, no one here really wants this except for the landowners, the people that are profiting from it. I think you just need to listen to the people that are here. There's a big turnout here of people that do not want this, and I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Lewis, thank you. The next one I have listed is by email. It's from a Lauren Growth. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ms. Growth, are you here tonight? And you, if that's not, I'll just read the email. It's about 1 page, and we'll put her comments into the record. She says, hello, I'm writing to oppose the recent zoning change request for the land adjacent to Magnolia Hills subdivisions off Sublet Road due to poor drainage of the land, added stress on KISD schools, and the noise, traffic, and safety issues associated with construction. I strongly oppose developing that land into more residential housing and hope you'll consider the reasons as well. First of all, I'm very worried about the drainage situation for the land and our homes in Magnolia Hills. The recent rainstorms brought the ponds to the brim, and to think that the developer wants to eliminate one pond and then route it into another pond on private property is very unsettling. I fear that anytime there is moderate to substantial rain, the houses in the new development could be impacted by flooding. consider how this could also impact the existing houses in Magnolia Hills that are losing one source of water retention? Would we also be at increased risk to flooding? Secondly, the schools of Kennedale Independent School District are already overcrowded. With all of the recent development and new Wildcat residents, this development would only exacerbate the issue. As an educator myself, I know how overcrowding and large class sizes directly impact student learning. It's proven that a high quality teacher is the single biggest influence on student achievement. Again, as an educator, I can tell you from firsthand experience that teachers don't want to teach in overcrowded classes in schools. How can we recruit and retain the best teachers and to educate our children when they'll be working in less than ideal conditions? Another reason I oppose this development is because the construction nuisance factor. By the time it takes to develop land and then begin to build and complete the houses, we're looking at another 3 or more years of living in a construction zone. Not only does this mean loud noises, dust, debris, but it also means that the residents of Magnolia Hills will have to deal with construction traffic. The only way to access the new phase would be right through our neighborhood and on our tiny streets. We would have to deal with large trucks and machinery plowing through our existing streets, creating traffic and leaving filth behind them. How can our little side streets of Levy Lane and McClellan Court handle years more of this wear and tear? Even more importantly, how are needed services, including emergency vehicles, supposed to navigate through crowded construction streets? Next, I worry about traffic congestion in and around Magnolia Hills. I already mentioned that construction traffic in our neighborhood, but we are also about to have to deal with construction traffic from the widening of Sublet Road near Joplin. Additionally, the new phase would mean even more cars trying to drive through the little Levy Lane and McClellan Court while dodging huge machinery and construction trash. This is not only an inconvenience, but also feels irresponsibly unsafe for the residents living along those streets. How will our neighborhood streets be able to handle a significant increase in traffic while keeping our residents, children, and pets safe? In sum, the zoning change requested for phase 2 of Magnolia Hills is a terrible decision because of the poor drainage of the land, added stress on KISD schools, and construction noise and traffic and safety issues. Hope that you will consider the existing residents of Kennedale, specifically those in Magnolia Hills neighborhood, and reject this zoning change. We chose to move to Kennedale for the small town feel, and I would like to think the leaders of our city have the backs not only as city council, but as neighbors. Thank you. Let's see, the next we have listed is call on a Stephen McBroom. Mr. McBroom did submit a page with comments, so.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Stephen McBroom. I live at 1237 Levy Lane, directly adjacent to that land. Because of time, I'm just going to read my statement and I have a couple additions afterwards. We live on Levy Lane. Our biggest concern with the beginning of the new construction of a second phase of Magnolia Hill is the traffic going down Levy Lane, which will be 65 to 75% of usage for entering and exiting the new addition. Nobody's going to drive through the vineyard. They're going to go directly onto Levy Lane because it's the closest to Sublet. Fire Chief Brown of Kennedale has measured the McClellan Street, and it's the same width as Levy Lane. Code states the streets should be 28 feet wide. Our streets are not up to code. They are 25 feet wide. Chief Brown stated that there is nothing that can be done about widening the streets, and this is a major concern. First, this is a safety concern. Last week, a fire truck was unable to get down McClellan because there were cars parked on the street. This is a serious safety concern. There are always resident cars parked on these streets. For instance, our family has 2 teenagers. In the next year, we will personally be a 4-car family. Due to the short length of our driveways, we'll be forced to park our cars on the street, which is our right as residents. When 2 cars are parked on the street, it's very difficult for a 3rd car to drive down the center of the street. Luckily, right now, there's little traffic on the street. However, if you make this the main entrance, which it will be due to proximity to Sublet, there will be hundreds of cars driving up and down Levy Lane daily. Secondly, during construction, this will be the main entrance for construction vehicles. During construction of the houses on our street, our family was forced to park on Tucker and walk down to our house because the construction vehicles made it impossible to travel down that street. Construction on our home took over 3 years. This would mean we would have these 18-wheelers, cement trucks, pallet trucks coming up and down our streets for years. This will cause wear and tear on our streets, dust and debris on our homes, drainage issues from the debris and trash accumulated from construction. We demand that any development built on this land behind us has its own entrance from Sublet so that the street is not the main entrance and exit. This street was not designed to be a main street. Finally, the streets run east and west. Twice a day in the morning, I'm talking about Levy Lane, twice a day in the morning when leaving for work and returning in the evening, you cannot see down the street because the sun is rising and setting. We currently are forced to drive down the center of the road to avoid cars that are parked on the street. You cannot see if there's a car coming at you, and this poses another safety hazard for us. This plan will only increase safety issues for residents if we add another 70 homes to the neighborhood without their own entrance and exit. Please listen to your constituents. We do not want this development. We've waited years, 3 years for my family to live in our dream home on Magnolia Hills. We paid very high prices to do so. We deserve to be able to enjoy our homes and not live in a dangerous construction site. I will say, when I got that letter from this meeting about the property, the map that's shown here was not the map we received. It did not include the homes directly next to our homes. It was cut off where Levy Lane wouldn't have been an entrance into that property. So had Chris Gary not shown me the correct map, I might not have come here because I thought, hey, this is including Levy Lane. They've already probably made another exit for this property. So I'm a little upset that we received a map that wasn't correct when told about this event. The other thing is, my wife is a teacher at Kennedale High School. She's a chemistry teacher, and she can guarantee you she couldn't fit 5 more kids into her classroom. So the idea that this is not going to put a strain on the high school or elementary school or middle school is a joke. So I really hope that y'all will not agree to this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one I have is from an email, Betty USRY Usuri. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Would you care to speak, or would you like for me to read the? Okay, I'll read it for you. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to send my comments to you via email. I oppose the proposed request to change the property from AG to R2, R3. That is approximately 18.2 acres being part of the TR11 Oliver Acres addition and part of lots 6 and 7 AM Estates home tracts at 1106 Kennedale Sublet, Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas. The reasons for the opposition are listed below. Overloading the narrow streets with only 3 potential exits. The environment will be adversely affected. Some of the residents that will be adversely affected were not notified of this meeting, including me. The proposed development seems planned so that the number of houses that will be sold will cover the cost of purchasing the property rather than building fewer houses and building and selling them at a different price point. The safety of the residents in the Magnolia Hills will be affected as well as those in the proposed development because first responders, whether fire department, ambulance, or police, will be slowed by the narrow streets. Thank you for considering these comments, Betty Usuri. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. So thank you. Appreciate your comments. And the last one we have here is Jonathan Gary. Mr. Gary did submit comments along with his forms.
Yeah, I did. I put a map and I put the letter that we originally got in the mail. I did get in the mail. There are probably 5 or 6 people, including Miss Ussery, that did not get the letter that the Mr. McBroom and Garrison talked about. Anyway, I'll just read a quick statement. My name is
I'm
Chris
sorry,
Gary.
could I get you to state your address?
Yes, I'm sorry. Hello, my name is Chris Gary. I'm at 1300 McClellan Court. And I just have a few things I wanted to say. Most of it would be repetitive, what was already said. But the first thing I wanted to discuss was the notification letter from the city. As they've discussed, the map does not match what is proposed there on the screen as far as the boundaries are concerned. Multiple Magnolia Hill residents were not notified in a timely manner. My second concern is road access. I have concerns about the access for emergency vehicles. The three proposed entrances to this subdivision of 70+ houses. The current roads are only 25 feet wide, as it's already been mentioned. I believe the code is supposed to be 28 feet. And unfortunately, you can't dig up the streets that are already there. The streets that are already there are going to be the main thoroughfares to get to these 70+ houses. And as far as the new Kennedale Sublet Road at the south end of Kennedale Sublet, or Colette Sublet, excuse me. As far as expanding that out, making it nicer, prettier, paving it for the residents of Magnolia Hills. If I'm correct, I think one of the city council people live on that road, so they will personally benefit from the improvements to that road. And it doesn't fix the problem that the current Magnolia Hills subdivision has serious road and access issues. The traffic from the additional 71 houses, like Garrison said, there'll probably be an extra 150 cars a day coming down the 3 streets, including the vineyards. That's a lot of traffic. Traffic generation in additional houses. Noise disturbance is a big one. This morning, I went out at 6 o'clock and there's 5 houses still left being built in the current Magnolia Hills Phase 1. And there was a truck. There was a big, huge truck at 3 of them. 2 houses had masonry people already there, 6:30, banging on rocks, banging on stone, running their big machine out there at 6:30 in the morning. Now, I didn't call the police to call a noise complaint. But if that's happening now, what's it going to be like for the next 3 to 5 years for everybody else? It's going to be a mess. So I'd like y'all to take that into consideration too. As everybody's mentioned, the effect on the conservation area and drainage issues. As far as just moving the ponds down onto somebody else's personal property, making it bigger is what one of the guys said that tonight. They're going to make it bigger so to hold more water. And put the, whatever you said, sir, about the put the filtration or whatever. I live right there on the corner to this property, right at the end of the street. And I can tell you, I have video, I have pictures that the 2 ponds are there right now, over flood in about 30 minutes. The other day they were over flooded, and it's still to this point, it's over flooded and there's water probably 20, 30, 40 feet outside that, but those ponds that are already there. It's all the way up to McClellan Street. So I don't know what they're going to do to improve the drainage on that, but I don't think it's going to be done because they would have already done it. I do have numerous pictures. I wanted to talk about the conservation part of it. The ponds, I have a couple of pictures of when it rains and there's hundreds of birds there. A couple of them are egrets, which I think are protected by the government, but I have, that's a big wildlife center situation for the wildlife too. Then of course, pressure on the schools, even with the restructure of the schools, classrooms are already at max capacity, like Mr. Room said, and would overload the teacher-student ratio. And lastly, not that I brought it tonight for y'all because it doesn't affect y'all, but we have a signed petition by the Magnolia Hill residents of almost 30 people. Out of those 60 houses, 50% have signed where they're against this proposed plan. And we ask that if the people above or on Sublet Road are willing to sell their property or part of their back property, somebody needs to be willing to sell a property to get another main entrance to the main street, so that the traffic doesn't have to come down 25-foot line. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Gary, thank you. That's all the speaker forms we have for tonight. So we'll call the public hearing to a close at 6:39 p.m. Appreciate those of you who came to speak tonight, and open it up for questions and comments from the commission. May start down at this end. Andrew, do you have questions or comments?
So I just kind of want to start off with what our intent is here today. Today is just to hear the rezoning request. So we're requesting, the applicant is here today to request the change from a tract of land from agricultural to planned development. They have been nice enough to provide even kind of a preliminary site plan, but there can still be changes made to this site plan. The only thing we're here today is to discuss the rezoning change. Now, with that being said, it's important to change zoning for compatible land uses. Right? So we think of agricultural land and we just say, okay, well, that should be farming. But when we look at our comprehensive plan, what we see is that within agricultural land, the way that our city has currently laid out what we believe can go into agricultural land, it's not just farming, right? So if someone wanted to purchase this agricultural land, they could put in an indoor shooting range. They could put in a paintball and survival games arena. They can put in golf courses, driving ranges. They can even put in a rodeo ground. Of course, we have the agricultural operation of a farm. So if someone wanted to raise hogs there, they could. They could put in greenhouses. They can put in stables. So if they want to put in a ton of stables, because it's open for private use of stables as well as commercial use of stables. So, and then there's also wines and vineyards. And then they could put in a wind turbine farm there. That's an acceptable use. They can put in solar farms. They can put in a place of worship. So if someone wanted to come in, buy the agricultural land, they could put in a mega church, and that's an authorized use of this land. They can also put in a group housing and an adult group home. And then also currently on agricultural business, as long as it meets other specifications, they can also put in sexually oriented businesses. So there's there's setbacks that need to happen for a sexually oriented business about 1,000 feet from most things, right? So churches, schools, and if within that property, they could drop in on agricultural land, a sexually oriented business. So the school district has been in the process over the past couple of years to identify all of the development that has been going on within the Kennedale. There's been projections over the course of time that actually around this time, we should have actually had about 10,000 residents within the city of Kennedale, but we're actually only at 8,463 people. So part of what they did when what their plan for the ISD is that they are reconverting Arthur, which was kind of a fourth, fifth campus, where that's going to be the pre-K campus, first grade, and then it might even go up to second grade, and then it switches back to Patterson and Delaney for fourth and fifth, and then we have the junior high and the high school. As of our current budgets with the school district, there's actually within Kennedale, the schools have actually seen a decrease in student enrollment. Now, I understand that some of the teachers might say that I have a full class, and that's probably accurate. But with additional enrollment, it's up to the administrators to hire more teachers or to move teachers around to facilitate that student need. So the independent school district is taking steps to plan for all of these developments that are going in. So I understand everyone's concerns, and I hope the developer has heard some of them. I do think that those are some good, the 25-foot streets, if that is inconsistent, please work with staff to make that what it's supposed to be prior to our final platting or initial platting. I do think that it's it's a good idea to potentially have a temporary right of way for construction traffic going in and out, so you're not impacting the current residents of Magnolia Hills. Even potentially a permanent right of way going into the property. Those are my comments. As of now.
Thank you. Do you have comments? No comments? None for me. Barry?
Well, we're talking planning and zoning and the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is old. The comprehensive plan is a dream. It's not facts that we're going to live by. Things change, people change. So we got to be, it's both planning and zoning. And if it doesn't fit the plan exactly the way we need it to be to have it work, well, then we have problems we need to take care of, to try to make it fit. Now, you're not going to make everybody happy. There's going to be some growth in this town. It's the impact that this growth is going to have on the residents and the rest of the community and the school district. So it's a tough call. It is really a very tough call on our part. And then council has to further go through this. It's a tough decision, folks. Our decision is just to the planning and zoning. Your concerns are very important to us. And that's where your council people come involved. And that's, we need to be at those meetings too. So we're limited to just looking at the picture and not the end results. It just says just a zoning if it fits and what they bring forth, how it reacts. That's where you got to take it up with your local council people. They're the ones who really represent the people. We respect everything you say. So depending on how our vote goes, don't crucify us. You still got the council to go after us. We're limited on what we can really do. We're instructed just to look at certain things and just respect what you tell us. But our decision is based on if it fits the criteria that are being met, just to change the zoning. They plan on building something there that maybe doesn't fit, but we're just looking at the zoning change. That's all we have to really go on. It's just a tough call. So we'll see how we vote. And if it doesn't go your way, you still got the city council to fight with. Thank you.
Very, thank you. David, do you have comments? Not at this time? Okay. I'll say one. I don't think we're supposed to, but go ahead. I think we can accommodate one question. I'm I don't know the answer to that. If do you city manager know?
Joplin Road is not within our city limits. So any future growth dealing with Joplin, it will be with the city of Arlington. It is. The city of Kennedale borders right to Joplin, from Sublet Road all the way to. So with that, it's going to be up to Arlington. But my understanding, there is a future plan to open Joplin. I just don't know what the time frame is.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, take one more question. I believe if somebody wants to speak for the applicant, I think we could probably make that available.
Commissioners, my name is Brian Holland of the Scorburg Development Company. Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to even write that into the PD. We're going to write those if it's not already. We have some of those details. So we can add those details to the PD. So it's a public record. It's in the recorded document that gets recorded. So then staff can hold our feet to the fire, so to speak, to make sure that those improvements are put in place. I also want to point out that the roads we have shown on the PD on this concept plan are 28 foot wide. happy to look at a 30-foot wide, 31-foot wide section if that makes sense. And the council would like to look at that and the city staff would be in favor of that. We can look at that as well. So, and then the third thing I might say is we will, give it our best effort to see if we can get at least a temporary construction access point to the north sublet. I can't guarantee you that, but we'll give our efforts to try to get that accomplished and have those discussions.
Thank you. That, since the public hearing's closed, I think we probably need to move on and, well, Chief, do you have questions or comments? Sure.
I just want to refer to some of the things that you were sharing, in particular dealing with some of the like a mega church and SOB things like that. What you're describing is accurate. However, there's other things that restrict those type of activities going after an agriculture. So I just wanted to make sure that they're not going to go to that location and in that context. So it's not that I'm disagreeing with you, but there's other restrictions that prevent that from happening as well. I just want to make sure everybody.
Right, thank you. With that, we've had around the table discussion. Do we have anyone who would like to make a motion for or against the proposal?
I motion we approve based on the information presented. I find that this request meets the city requirements, is in compliance with the comprehensive land use plan, and make a motion to approve this request for rezoning.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second if I'm allowed to do that as chair, so we can have discussion or have a vote from that. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Start this in this time, David.
Nothing.
None for me.
The future land use map indicates that this is going to be commercial. I mean, not commercial, it's going to be eventually it's going to be residential. That's what our future land use map has. Now, until council decides to direct staff to make changes to that. But this is still probably going to come out of another comprehensive land use map as eventually going to be residential. Just based on where it's at, the surrounding uses. It's not going to be a good place for commercial. I mean, we can always set it up to be another park or something like that. But until city makes a determination to change that land use map, this is compliant. This rezoning request to go from agricultural land to residential is compatible. And that's what we're here today to consider.
That all for question, all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. And all opposed? So motion passes 2-1. Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Appreciate those on the commission. Agree with Terry. It's a tough choice and a lot of things to consider. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:53 p.m. Thank you all.
A motion we adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion. Yeah, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.